$19 lots to get on this morning's auction on lot number 6. At 10 to go, have it at 10, have it at 10 to go now, sir. 40 already, have 14, sir. 15 now. At 15 million, yes, on have it at 5, selling at 5 now. 16 million. At 16 million, here's out. At 15, 5, 16, 15, 5, 16, 16 now. Hammers up, third and final call. Congratulations, sir. Sold at 15 million, 500,000. Portsburg, retail, fuel, or residential. This property is fully let. Have it at 5, now. Thank you, 600,000. You better now. Another 100,000. Have it at 5.8, sir. Have it at 5,888. Selling at 5,888. That's twice. And have it at 6 million. It's against you again, sir. Hold on. Hammers high. Congratulations, sir. Sold. This is officially, as we know it, South Africa's first live metaverse auction. Compliments of AuctionInc. This is a virtual metaverse property. We'll take an opening, but ladies and gentlemen, for the first live metaverse auction brought to you by AuctionInc at 50,000 to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have it at 50,000 to go now. Where's the answer? It's up there. I have no idea, but you can own it. Thank you, sir. 50,000 we got a bid, sir. Somewhere there. Act quickly. Have it at 50,000. Have it at 50,000. Here's 50,000 now. 50,000 once. 50,000 twice. We're selling, ladies and gentlemen. Third and final call. You're going to the class, so congratulations. Sold. On behalf of AuctionInc, myself, John van Rennen, thank you for joining us, and good night.
Fantastic. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are just joining us, that was a snippet of what an auction looks like, which is our topic for today's coffee chat. We're going to be talking to the ever so lovely Candice Lee from AuctionInc, but I will be bringing her back a little bit later. I am conversing with you, not from our studios. I know you guys were so used to the leather couches with the animal print. However, because of technical difficulties, I will be talking to you from home, which is awesome. First and foremost, we always do this with every single coffee chat. My name is Khali, and I'm going to be with you for the next hour. So I would like to know where you guys are from. I want to know where you guys are watching me from. Is it Joburg? Is it Bloemfontein? Is it Mpumalanga? Is it Pietermaritzburg? Is it Durban? Notice how I'm keeping Cape Town for the last one because they are my nemesis. However, just let me know in the chat box where you guys are watching us from for our riveting coffee chat. We have a member from Edenvale. That counts. It's Johannesburg. We'll take it. We're literally just trying to find out where each and everybody. We have Carrie Lee from Johannesburg. Yes, we do rule Carrie Lee. Okay, our arch nemesis, Cape Town, better not show up here. I'm kidding. We love everybody from all over the place. I'm happy. Hi. In terms of where you guys are from. Like I said earlier on, we are going to be discussing auctions. And as a property investor, be it's your first time, you're an experienced one, you have a healthy portfolio, or you just want to start out, what are the do's and don'ts and all things around auctions? And for those of you who are our members, be it, and we have Gordon from Cape Town, Abdurrahman. Wait, no, I'm going to say it right. Abdurrahman. Yes, Abdurrahman, also from Cape Town. If you guys want to understand and know how to get into property and, get into auctions, we're going to be discussing that. Like I said, with AuctionInc, the do's, don'ts, and maybe the in-betweens of auctions and the things that you did not know about auctions, because sometimes people are very risk adverse when it comes to auctions because there's a big sense of uncertainty because people are not used to auctions or actually how they work, but they can be a very, very critical tool in expanding your property journey. So also what I'm going to be doing right now is that I'm going to be letting you know in events, what is it that is coming up, because we always have jam-packed events all throughout the country. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country, you do not have an excuse. The first one is going to be the Cape Town event, We were actually conversing with Jonathan last week for our coffee chat. That's going to be on the 11th of May in Cape Town. So if you are in Cape Town, please, we're going to be talking about semi-migration in Cape Town on the 11th of May. So you can still book your tickets. That's going to be happening. Then the next one is our premier event, which is also why we have Candice, because she's going to be there at our premier event. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the premier events are for intermediate and professional members. So you have to be a member and you have to be intermediate or professional in order to attend them. And the reason why it's more network based, it's more about people who are very intuitive and they honestly want to get to know about property. So we're going to be discussing auctions from a perspective of an investor, right? You yourself, you don't want to end up at an auction. Ladies and gentlemen, please practice good financial decisions that you don't end up at an auction. However, as an investor, we appreciate the people who end up selling their things on an auction, because you can get amazing deals at an auction. That's going to be happening at Greenstone. Again, only premier and intermediate members. So if you want to attend, upgrade. That's going to be happening on the 17th of May. Next up, we have on the 18th of May, we're going to be having a coaching and legal support webinar. That's going to be happening live. Again, for all of our members, you can actually attend that one. And next up, this one I'm actually super excited about. It's going to be happening on the 23rd of May, which is an expert advice webinar online with Mark Berman, who is an expert developer. And we're going to be talking about developments, right? We're going to be talking about it as an investment strategy, how it works, what you need to know, what you need to understand about developments, because they're not the strategic buy to let or a flip. Developments are a bit more complex, so you need to understand those things if you're going to be going into developments. After that, we're going to be having our mastermind coaching on the 25th of May. That's also going to be just for our intermediate and our professional members. Like I said, if you want to join, upgrade. And then yes, those are currently what we're going to be having. Please don't forget that we also do Investor of the Year judging, right? Investor of the Year award judging every Wednesday. So all of you who are right now from Cape Town, from Edenvale, everybody that I was talking about now, you need to be entering, because I know you at least have a cottage somewhere that you've purchased. It counts. You can enter as Investor of the Year in that frame. Yeah, that was a mouthful. Those are all of our events. I will be tackling them also a little bit later. But right now, I would like to introduce a lovely lady. I would really, really appreciate it if she just introduces herself, because I think just her expertise is too profound for me to unpack. But ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Candice Lee. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm fantastic, sitting in a cold and rainy Joburg, but that doesn't get us down on the side of the woods. We're always busy.
Mm-hmm. So fantastic.
Thanks so much for having me.
So Candice, just briefly, can you just introduce yourself to our viewers that are currently watching us right now as to who you are, how you got into property, not property, I beg your pardon, how you got into auctions, and also, how you kind of align in terms of AuctionInc?
Yes, of course. Okay. So my background, I have been in auctioneering my whole life. I was born into the Winterstein family, and we founded Auctioneers some 60, 70 years ago. So this has been in my blood my whole life. From when I finished school, which was in 2004, I started in some internship programs with the company, and just through the passion of it and the industry being so fun and fast-paced, and it's just an amazing environment to be in. I just fell in love with it as an adult, and I continued to do auctioneering and real estate for some time after that. I then joined Eris Property Group, one of the bigger property funds in the country, and I was with them for about 2 years to expand a bit of my knowledge in terms of the commercial leasing and private sales and investment sector. Then went and traveled for 7 years overseas. I was in real estate in Paris for about 2 years, and we definitely know how to do property as well as marketing and just sales in this country way better than the French do. And I moved back to South Africa last year, March, back to AuctionInc with my CEO, who's Ari Ben. And I've then grown into the role as the business development manager for the company over the last year, specifically my side for the commercial division. And now we are one of the leading auction houses in the country. We are in the top 4 of the commercial sector, and we are the leading residential auction house within South Africa and throughout Africa. And we are based in Houghton Estate. The company falls under the Masingita group of companies. The director of that is Mike Nkuna. He is the largest rural retail developer in the country, and he is now also a doctor. So we sit under his offices, and we've got a lot of good connections through him throughout the country. So yeah, that's pretty much a bit of a brief of me and where I come from. And now we're up and running and ready to kick this financial year.
That is amazing. That is quite like an extensive history in terms of property. So you know your stuff.
I know,
and I think
it's the only thing I do. That's my goal.
that it's in your DNA, as they say. It's in your DNA from the gate. You knew this is my realm of expertise. So, ladies and gentlemen, this session is going to be very interactive, so please ask your questions in terms of auctions in the chat box. We're going to be discussing auctions, what they are, how do you come about it, how do you register, the do's, don'ts, and everything else in between in terms of auction. And we're going to be sharing with you guys in terms of your next auction is on the 24th of May, if I'm not mistaken.
So our next commercial multi-property auction we're hosting is on the 24th of May. So that reel that we showed at the beginning of the meeting, that was from our last one in March, and you're all more than welcome to join at the auction. It will be at our offices here in West Street in Houghton. We can share the address and the invitation through a bit later on that. It's also a nice way, if you haven't attended an auction before, to come through and have a look and see how it runs in the process and how much fun it really is. I think a lot of people have got a stigma on auctions as to, the issues that we have seen in the country, obviously previously in the news and just globally. So it's good to attend one and to be able to see it in real life and get a feel for how it works. It's just so much fun.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's start with this question. So most of us understand or know what an auction is, but I don't think we fully comprehend what it actually is and entails. So can you kindly just tell us exactly what is an auction?
Okay, so an auction is the most expedited, non-suspensive process of selling, be it a property or any loose asset. It takes all of the risk out of selling a property in terms of the legalities and how the agreements are structured. Everything is very transparent in the way that the agreements are laid out and drawn by the legal side of things. Through the process of auction, both buyers and sellers are made fully aware of the terms of auction. We have multiple different type company documentations, which we'll share with you, which outlines the process from a buyer's perspective as well as a seller's. In terms of the offers, that are all non-suspensive offers. So how it works is that if I can run through the process of auction, if you are as a seller, let's say we meet today and we sign a mandate within a week, that mandate price is a net figure to you as the seller, and that bid price similarly is the net figure to you. That mandated price that we sign is confidential. So that price is never distributed to the public. It's only between the company and then the seller's discretion of that. When purchasers are phoning and questioning regarding pricing, which obviously we all do, we all want to know what the pricing is, we then give them a guide range based on what the market is paying for, as well as what other buyers that have come to visit and viewed the property have been based on. So there's no thumb sucking of figures where people are saying, oh, it's worth 2 million rand, but it's actually 1 million rand. Everything is done 100% transparently. And we also do offer the service whereby we send our purchasers a spreadsheet with the calculation costs, whereby it's got your bid price, your bidder's premium and the VAT, and then your total purchase price. So that's, again, on the day of the auction, that there isn't any gray areas in terms of how people understand the agreements. So it's a very quick process. From the seller side of things is that we don't do, I'm going to speak residential first, is that we don't do things like show days over weekends where we're kicking people out of their homes. We do specific viewing days and times, which we then say to the sellers, that we do for an hour at a time. And then it stops all of the interruptions and families and people having to move out. Similarly, with businesses, it would be viewing by appointments only. We vet the clients extremely well before we even take them to the property by asking them the right questions, how their liquidity is, if they own other assets, what type of businesses they're involved in, dependent on the type of property that we have for sale. So every asset is looked at on an individual basis. No properties are the same way as no humans are the same. We say to a lot of our buyers and sellers is that when you are trying to sell something that is interesting and unique, like the Mona Lisa, would you put that property onto Sotheby's, let's say, International Fine Arts auction, or would you just put that online on a couple of platforms? The auction mechanism allows the bidders to bid up on pricing, whereas a normal real estate method of sale is that you list it, let's say 3 million rand, then you know that bid guys are going to be going down on their pricing for you. Whereas auction is a mechanism where you're bidding up on a property. To give you an idea and a background on that, we had a filling station last year whereby our mandate price was, and I can disclose this because after auction, was at 14 million rand. We were all expecting a price slightly less than that. This auction room was a feeding frenzy, and we achieved over 400,000 rand more than what the mandated price was. And when we achieve more on that pricing, whatever that price is still what is net to seller. So if the mandate is for 14 million and we got 14.5, that seller is still getting 14.5 million. So that's an amazing side of it is that whatever we get on that bid, ladies going once, going twice, 10 million rand sold, that 10 million rand is what you as the seller are getting into your pocket. There is no other amounts on that you have to then incur. So
Okay, that is amazing.
It's an amazing method. To be very honest with you, I've only ever bought and sold my own properties through auction. It's just so much easier. There's no time wasted on the transactions. And from our side of it as the company and the brokerage, is it's our responsibility to conduct the due diligence on the asset for those buyers so that they don't, obviously they will conduct their own, but so that they don't have to go back and redo all of the information that we're giving them. And that's why as an auction agent, specifically more so I think than normal, is you really have to know the ins and outs of your assets and of your properties, because you are the eyes and ears for both your buyers and sellers. And that's where the transparency is so important.
Oh, fantastic. That is actually very interesting. I don't think I've actually understood this side of auctioning. But then that goes into my next question is that, like, how many different kinds of auctions are there? And like, what is the difference? Because I think like me and our viewers, we have a certain kind of overview of what an auction is. And that's why there is a bit of, hesitance when it comes to auctions.
Yeah. So I suppose there's three different types of auction houses, if you want to say. You've obviously got your bank in-house, the bank guys that do their own auctions. And then you've got your sheriff's auctions, which is when that's been liquidated, it's insolvent estate. And then you have our company, which is then what I call a seller-elected auction, whereby it can be from a seller that's decided of their own accord to select on auctions, or if it's a deceased estate, relocation, divorce, executors, multiple different types of transactions, also guys that are wanting to do different shareholding agreements on properties. So those are the three main types of auctions that we have. And then under that umbrella, you've got your residential. Then you've obviously got things like your multi-let auctions, which we have a lot of in your areas like your Kensingtons, whereby there's we all know that there's houses where there's multiple people within the property that it's let like that. Then you go on to the commercial sector where you've got your industrial, retail, filling stations, commercial property, development land is a huge one that's been selling a lot lately. And every type of property sector then has their own auction. And then further broken down into that, we offer an online platform with auction. We do feel that people, obviously during COVID, were going towards online, but auction is a platform where you want to be in the room. It's a very hands-on, it's an emotionally driven, style of event. It is a show and it's a lot of fun. So we do the online. We offer our commercial multi-property auctions, whereby we will have multiple different types of investment properties, like we will be having next month, where we've got retail properties, we've got blocks of flats, we've got some vacant retail, we've got in Fordsburg development land, we've got a smart home that's going in Hurlingham. So that's where we group really beautiful and nice, interesting stock onto one sale, and that's like the real what you've just seen. And then what we offer, which we find is an amazing aspect for residential, is on-site auctions, whereby we'll have it at the property themselves. And that's specifically for residential. We do it on commercial, but the good thing with residential is people are buying a home, or they're buying an asset, or they're buying something from an emotion, unless it's for an investment. And people want to see the property that they're bidding on, when they're there. So those on-site auctions we host every weekend, and those are very successful. So those are the main platforms that we utilize and that are utilized throughout the world. And internationally, they do use a lot of the online platforms. Here, you know what, we South Africans, we like to be in the trenches together and be there and be going the punches with everyone.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think you mentioned this, in terms of due diligence and the fact that you guys vet quite extensively. This ties in to my next question, but I also want to encourage our viewers to absolutely ask your questions. Whatever questions you may have, please, Candice is here to have you guys have a different view and perception of auctions. So put your questions in the chat box. But my next question is simple. Are auctions safe? Because there is, again, a lot of stigma around auctions.
So auctions are probably the most safest way of buying property because of the terms and the conditions that are in the sales agreements, which we can also share with everyone if they'd like to have a look at them. It just eliminates any of the risk because the agreements are so watertight in the conditions that from both buyers and sellers, unless there is a major breach, honestly, in my career, I think if I've seen 5 transactions in auction actually not go through for some reason, and it's been reasons of, let's say, for the instance, the council can't get the rates in order. So it's very rare that will happen. And also from a seller's perspective, it comes in the sense of that we're taking a 15% buyer's deposit, which is non-refundable upon acceptance. So there it gives the seller the peace of mind of knowing that deposit is in and with the conditions. And from a buyer's side, properties that are sold is motivated and is genuine people that are selling. So we're not taking properties onto auction whereby a seller's testing the market. That's not where you're at. So we know we've got a motivated seller. We have a buyer that's got the correct standpoint. And then you've got legal teams as well as documentation that ensure that it's a seamless process.
No, that's actually, I think the pivotal part is when you're saying it's motivated sellers. So it's not somebody who can just go onto the market and then go, actually, I don't feel like it, and turn back, because that's also obviously, like you said, properties are one of the biggest assets a lot of people purchase, be it investors or private individuals. So I'm not giving up on a 15% buyer's deposit only to be told that the seller backed out. But with regards to that, then, that would follow through into my next question is like, okay, so now let's say I'm motivated. I'm like, okay, let me try my first auction. Let's see. It might not be a property, but it might be something quite valuable. So how does one register for auction?
So with the registration, so we'll take it a step back. A buyer calls us and we have the discussion. We take them through to the property and they're interested, and now they want to move forward and register to bid. For the residential properties on site auctions is that there's a registration form that they would complete, which has got all the rules and regulations of the auction, again, broken down in terms of the bid price, bidder's premium, the deposits that are required, that the property is sold as is. And I've just seen, Eric, your question there. So with our auctions, there are no hidden costs. All outstandings are settled by the sellers. On a seller-elected auction, it will never, unless for some reason there's been an agreement made between the sellers previously that would then be in any conditions of sales or the bidder's packs, you buy the property over at zero from you. So that is the plus side. There are no additional hidden costs on that.
Okay, and so we have Sam who says, my biggest fear with auctions is when a tenant owner does not want to move out.
Okay.
So then, in terms like that, what do we do?
So again, with each property and the conditions, it'll say whether the property is sold with vacant occupation. So if there is, for instance, a problematic tenant, which we then do need, again, we are transparent. So we need to make the purchasers aware that there is a tenant that is squatting or that won't leave the property. And then either we put that into the condition of saying that the property is sold with vacant occupation, and then it's the onus of the seller to take out that tenant. If the property is sold with a lease in place, that's for a year, the property would be then sold with the lease unless there is a break clause. So generally speaking, it would be the seller's responsibility to ensure that that the property is sold with vacant occupation.
Oh, okay. So we have somebody who wants to know about how does auction deal with the auction mafia?
Last time I checked, we were in Italy, so we don't have that many big mafias. I don't think I've ever had any dealings with any mafia in my life. So if we do run into that, I'll have to answer that question on there. So I can't really give you an answer.
Okay, so thus far we know that there are no auction mafias. Eric wants to know just simply, so your auctions are safer than mandated sales?
Yes, our auction sales are definitely safer than a normal method of sale.
Okay, well, while we're still waiting on the questions, guys, please ask your questions. Candice is here to answer them. I just wanted to know, how many auctions does AuctionInc have, like on a monthly basis?
It varies depending on months, but generally we have in between 20 to 40 auctions a month. With our we busy.
Wow.
Busy nationally. We're doing deals everywhere. So as I said, the residential auctions we're having every weekend, as well as sometimes during the week. So we have anywhere from 2 up to 2, 4, 6, call it 20 auctions sometimes in a weekend. And then when we have our commercial auctions, that's normally every 6 weeks. So that again is between 15 to 30 assets on those commercial auctions. So the whole mechanism behind it, there's so much movement and change that goes on. And even if you just take a look at our website and you pop in and log in and register, you'll receive our newsletters every week, and you can get an idea of the volumes that we are moving, as well as on our social media pages. And I've said here, Eric, you mentioned we could attend without having to bid. Yes, Eric. So all of our commercial auctions are live streamed, and you are more than welcome. We do load them online to our YouTube channel before the auction. And with regards to our residential on-site auctions, that we don't do live on stream, because it's generally just it's people that are at the property buying and selling. It won't necessarily be international guys that are watching on that. And with any of our auctions, anyone in the public is always welcome to come, be it an on-site on the residential or the commercial, and you don't have to pay anything or sign any documentation to be present.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate the fact that you kind of allow that, so people just get a feel
the more
before they actually.
The more people that come, the better. We love to show the public what we do, and all of us within this organization and company really love it, and we have a passion for it. We're here every day. I mean, if I could take on a virtual tour around our office, we've got spinning wheels for incentives, we've got live signs, and we've got our live auctions, we've got a bell that all the guys ring when the properties are sold, we've got our stats board, and it's just a lot of fun. So come,
that's awesome.
Even if you want to come to our offices one day and have a cup of coffee, we're always here to chat, and we love to help people.
Yeah, AuctionInc gives free coffee, guys. Anywho,
that's for sure. And I see here.
So Sam wants to know how much deposit does a buyer generally have to put down on the fall of the house?
Okay, so that is a 15% deposit, and the deposit breakdown is made up of a 3.5% residual deposit to the property for the seller, and that also then includes the bidder's premium and the VAT on the bidder's premium, which is 10% plus VAT, and that is a standard auction house bidder's premium on that. And then again, Sam, with regards to that deposit, with a confirmation period, for some reason, if the seller doesn't accept that offer and we can't do a deal, that deposit does get refunded through to you. So it is no way that we would earn money off a deposit which we technically haven't sold on a property on.
Okay, that is great, and that's good, because of the fact that you mentioned, it'd be pretty sad if I'm giving up and then the deal falls through and it's not even my fault. Here's an interesting one. This person wants to know, how do you go about buying the property before it goes on?
Yeah, very good question. So there are a couple of ways. Certain sellers will request that we don't take in pre-auction offers depending on the asset. So then we obviously follow what the sellers have requested for us to do. If you are wanting to buy the property before the auction, the exact same terms and conditions would apply as if you were bidding at the auction. So you would put in the 15% deposit, you would sign the sales agreement and send through all of your FICA documentation and supporting documents that are required. And then again, the seller would have 3 business days to accept, reject, or counter the offer. And if it is accepted, then we would pull the property off auction and say that it has been sold. And the same process would run, whereby you'd obviously have that deposit, and then it would go through to your transferring attorney, and it's 21 business days to furnish the balance of the guarantees, and then it would go through the normal transfer process. And just a big plus side with auction properties when you are a buyer or a seller is that specifically with us here is that we work with a couple of law firms which we can recommend to people because they know and understand the mechanisms and the process and the legalities. And what we do is that we actually work with those lawyers from when we get the mandate to start gathering all of the relevant council information, bond clearance figures, electoral compliances, so that on the day that the property sells, because we're always projecting that we will sell the property, that everything has already been done, so that it's a case of now moving on to the next stage of the transfer in a much expedited process, so that you're not having to wait for those couple of weeks and go gather that information again. So we really make sure that it's a smooth process for everyone. And in terms of the buying, is if there's any questions that anyone ever needs to ask, we're always there to help, and even with our documentation. So we're very open, and we love questions. At the end of the day, we'd rather have everyone ask us a million questions and have 10 answers out of it that afford something and give information, and that the market understands what it is and how we work. So please feel free to ask away.
No, that's fantastic. We have one more question. Please keep giving us your questions. I'm just going to go into events shortly, but I really appreciate this. Also is a good question when they go, what happens if a property isn't sold on auction and I'm the seller? What then do we do?
Okay, so if for some reason on the day of auction the property doesn't sell, we don't just leave it and that it goes up into the galaxy and we never exist again at all. In fact, I've had a couple of transactions where we didn't close it on the floor, and I worked after auction as well as all of the other brokers, and we've closed the deals. So generally speaking, if it doesn't sell, we don't stop there. We carry on and we go back to all of the buyers. We go back to new databases, and we exhaust every single opportunity that we can in order to create a sale and effect that. Sometimes, look, it does happen. Not everything can sell, and there's not a lid for every pot. If that does happen, we also, again, a lot of companies have got quite an extended mandate. If I physically cannot sell that property for you and I've exhausted my options, I'm also not going to hold you in and say you've got another 90 days on this mandate. At the end of the day, I want to ensure that my clients sell their property or buy the correct property. And if it's a case of that I can't be the effect of that sale, I'm not going to be greedy in trying to retain that mandate. And just on that point is that as a seller or a buyer, we work with other agencies. So if an agent, let's say from Varied, says, oh, I've got a buyer for your property, we work with them on a joint venture so that we can ensure that the property is sold, and that doesn't affect buyer or seller whatsoever. According to them, they don't even need to know that it exists. But all we want at the end of the day is to ensure that there's a happy buyer, a happy seller, and that there's a sale that is done in the best possible way.
Okay, that's fantastic. You guys are actually quite efficient and amazing. And so we have just the last couple of questions. And this actually one is also very important. Does the seller also, does the sale also cover marketing costs?
Yeah. So again, each property is looked at on a transactional basis. With regards to marketing, generally, yes, the seller is liable to pay for part of the marketing. Us as a company, we do contribute like for like. In certain instances, again, like I said, it's on a case-by-case basis, but if there's reason for any financial problems that that the person can't afford to pay any of the marketing, or that we feel the property is an asset that would be amazing, we make that decision in-house whether the client will pay for the marketing or not. Again, it depends if it's listed funds, if it's corporates, if it's private individuals. Each one is looked on a case-by-case basis and the volumes that we're doing. So the question is that yes, they do, but no, they don't. It's both sides of it. It just depends on the property.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, not only does AuctionInc offer free coffee, but depending on a case by case, they might even do your marketing for you.
That's it.
That is amazing. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have any more questions, I'm going to bid farewell to Candice. And for those of you who are our intermediate or professional members, you're going to be seeing her again at the Tile Africa in Greenstone premier event that's happening on the 17th of May, where we're going to be having a live auction with AuctionInc and also the Sheriff's Auction. So we fundamentally understand understand from an investor and an entrepreneur perspective, how can auctions benefit you? And Eric comes in with that last question.
Yeah. So good. I'm glad you guys have seen that in our space. So we were first to market in the country with hosting lease auctions. We did have a very successful campaign with Redefined Properties, whereby we took vacant office space, and we know how the office market isn't doing that well at the moment. And we took vacant pockets of their offices, and we then auctioned off the spaces for them. And we actually managed to do some really nice incentives, and that the guys were pretty happy with it on it. It's not the easiest way of doing it. We have tried and tested it. We are continuing with it for certain clients. But South Africa, the market isn't 100% there as yet with lease auctions. And that's why for me, my role being the business development manager, I'm now starting to try at events like this to start educating the population and the market into the process of those lease auctions. And Eric, no, we operate nationally. And in fact, I kind of operate internationally too, from me being and working overseas. I've got guys that I deal with in New York and in Paris, and some in sub-Saharan African countries. So as long as it's a property, we can sell it.
Okay, awesome. Internationally, can you sell it on Mars, or is it?
I don't know if you saw, we actually did the first property in the metaverse. Also, so if you look at that reel, we were the first in Africa. We partnered with Africa Rare on that, and we sold the first property in the metaverse. And we are busy working with them that we're going to start actually selling off already built NFTs, because that was actually just land that they were going to develop into a 3-story. So yeah, we really are market leaders. We're fun, we're young, we're dynamic, we're a very customer centric company, and that's, I think, what sets us apart from many of our other, competitors, in that we are very much a one-on-one personalized type of business. And that's how we work with inviting, clients, friends, family into our auction spaces. And it's always just an open platform. So any questions that anyone has, if anyone on the platform wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Candice Cohen from AuctionInc. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And if anyone we do offer portfolio advisory services. So if any of you guys do have questions about your portfolios that you've got at the moment, where we can help you to move some stuff around, we always happy to help, and love just meeting people.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Candice. Like I said, on the 17th of May, Eric and Sam and all of our viewers want to say thank you to you for just giving us your time. But 17th of May, we will be seeing you at the Tile Africa Premier event. So all of our viewers, if you're not, unfortunately, intermediate or professional, upgrade, or subsequently, you can just go into contact with, the link is in our chat box in terms of how you get into contact with Candice and get some free coffee. But Candice, thank you so much. And we'll see you.
Have a lovely rest of the week, everyone. Have a good one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be going through again just a quick rundown of our events, and then after that, I will bid you farewell. Like I said, on the 11th of May, we are going to be having the Cape Town public event, and that's going to be talking about semi-migration. So if you are in Cape Town, you do not have an excuse. We're going to be having an event on the 11th of May. Then on the 17th of May, we're going to be having our premier event about auctions and everything around it in Greenstone at the Tile Africa in Greenstone. Premier event is only for intermediate and professionals. And next, we're going to be having on the 18th of May, we have the coaching and legal support webinar that's online, and that's for everybody. We have a jam-packed week this week. Yo, so much is happening. Next week, on Tuesday, I'm super excited about this one. We're going to be talking about developments with the elite and ever so amazing Mark Berman. And that's going to be happening on the 23rd of May at 1:00. So you can definitely join that. And the links are in there, so you can just start registering now. After that, we're going to be having a mastermind coaching on the 25th of May. And again, that is for our intermediate and professional members. So, that is what we need to know about auctions, all the do's, don'ts, and everything else in between. So thank you again to Candice and to you guys for joining us. See you next week. Bye.